The first ace falls off the map, and this is going to impact our Mets. We're going to break it down next on Metcast. What's going on, Mets fans? Welcome back to another offseason edition of Metcast. As always, I am Ray with my co-host Dan Bartels of the New York Post. If you're enjoying our content, I ask you to like and subscribe, and make sure you comment below your thoughts throughout the stream and post-stream as I try to get back to as many of you as possible. If you want to be locked in to get your comments and questions read, join our growing community of members right here on YouTube. And with that said, Dan, 7 years, $210 million. And the first thing I posted, bro, was wholly overpaid for a guy that I knew was going to get overpaid. Now, let's be real. The Mets, I'm not totally sure we're in this offseason. We don't know about that, but they 100% contacted San Diego about Dylan Cease last offseason towards spring training. So it's a guy they were interested in just a year ago. And with him getting $30 million a year for a guy with a 4.5 ERA last year, as well as 2 years ago, this is going to impact the New York Mets on this market. What are your thoughts?
Crazy, right? Big signing in baseball, something we love to see. You know, you always hear that, oh, it's Thanksgiving, it's the holidays, there's going to be no signings. Well, I don't know. Day before Thanksgiving, we had some pretty big news that he does sign for 7 years, $210 at a 30 AAV, setting the market. Good for Dylan Cease, right? Good for him. I mean, last year he posts, he gives you innings, he gives you 32 starts, he gives you that 3.5 ERA. He had the best K per 9 in baseball at 11.5. So there's a reason why Dylan Cease got the money that he did. Is it an overpay? Absolutely. You see the news today with Anthony Rendon. We talked about this, right? Potentially buying out that final year at $38 million. It's grotesque for the deal that he got. Yep. And I look at that easily as one of the worst contracts in Major League Baseball history. And you look at this deal with Dylan Cease, I mean, who knows? This could go down as one of those deals. He's not a surefire ace, and that's always been the knock against Dylan Cease. So good for Toronto, but I'm interested to see how this contract ages.
Yeah, 1,000%. And when you look at other contracts signed, I mean, it was one less year, but Corbin Burns got the 6 years for $210 million, the same amount, one less year. But when you look at this market, Dan, let me ask you this. Did the Blue Jays just ruin this market? Because when I look at the guys on the market, now the pickings have gotten slimmer. Obviously, the trade market, you talk about a Skubal. The first thing that I posted was look for Skubal to get 10 years, $450 million, because he, if the guy in Dylan Cease is getting that kind of money, he's younger and obviously way better. So I'm looking at the market of Framber Valdez, a big name that the Mets fans and media has brought up, and we're going to get to the reaction over at SNY very shortly after we give our quick comments. But when you look at that, Dan, Valdez already has an extra 2 or 3 years on his arm because of all the playoffs. And I'm like, do you see Steve Cohen? You need to add a left fielder. There's a good chance you're going to be spending $30+ million in left field if you're going to go after one of the big guys or trading for a Tatis this offseason. Steve Cohen going to swallow another $30+ million a year pitcher, which I thought Cease was going to be in the Sean Manaea realm, maybe 7 years at 23 to 24 million, but 7 at 30. Valdez has got to be thinking, I'm worth 32, 33, maybe $34 million a year, which might scare off a lot of teams around MLB.
Yeah, you're looking at least 32 for Framber right now, and that's maybe even being generous here, right? He might really try to push for 35. And at this point, I don't even know what we can think of the pitcher market, because last year we talk about it all the time. You had to trade a top premium prospect for a guy like a Mitch Keller. Imagine what a Jared Jones would have went for. Imagine, of course, what a Paul Skeens goes for in that kind of market, right? So I don't know. This is tricky, because in terms of free agency, I don't know. There was not many good pieces to that puzzle. We talked about Framber Valdez. The Mets didn't even meet with Framber Valdez at the GM meetings when they had the opportunity. Framber Valdez takes himself and brings him to these meetings. You don't see that a lot with players. So he was trying to get a deal done. I think Framber has to sign soon, but especially now, I mean, he's really going to be pushing for a good contract across the board. It's really Zach Gallen at this point, in terms of he has the qualifying offer attached. So that's obviously going against Zach Gallen. There's not many good free agents. And Michael King does feel like that final piece for the Mets. You give him that Minaya deal, 3 for $75, because quickly these options are drying up. And I'm with you, Ray. I don't think you want Ranger Suarez either. So
no, I've been saying that for a while.
So 100%.
And ready for this, Dan? You want to talk overpay. This is how you know it's an overpay. Who was the best pitcher on the market last year? Max Fried. Same age. 8 years, 218. 27.25 million. Max Fried's a 2 ERA guy. Dylan Cease, over the last 3 years, has a 4 ERA. I mean, every once in a while, you get these teams, and it happens all the time, and we all know the contracts. You're like, wait, they paid them what? It's, you know what I mean? Like when Zach Greinke went to Arizona, everybody kind of looked like, we know he's great, but that kind of money? I mean, Dylan Cease is not that guy, in my opinion. I've been on it since day one. Now, everybody likes it. He throws 100 miles an hour. What you mentioned, the high K rate. So people thinking you get him out of San Diego, get him under control. And one other option we got to talk about. San Diego is in it to win it this next year. They're either shedding payroll or they're not. And by them allowing Dylan Cease to walk, some may say, well, that's the payroll they're shedding. He wasn't making a lot of money last year. But what this does signal to me is maybe they are trying to shed payroll. San Diego losing Dylan Cease and Michael King. It doesn't matter what your lineup is. You're going to have one of the worst pitching staffs with Yu Darvish, who's 50 years old, at the top of that rotation. I wonder now, does this make Tatis even more available? And when you see guys like this getting $30 million a year, guys who are already under contract, it makes them even more valuable. I mean, think about this. Cease is what? He's 29. He'll be age 30 season. So at 35, 36, and 37 years old, they're paying him that kind of money for a guy with a 4 ERA. To me, it just doesn't make sense. We'll get to some of your guys' comments as well and address several other things, including a very, very interesting comment made by Brandon Nimmo on his way out. Throwing jabs, there's no doubt about it, at our New York Mets. But I want to get to the reaction from the guys over at SNY. Let's give it a listen.
Ooh, baby, the hot stove's getting warm. Time for the walk-off. Some breaking news. According to John Heyman, Dylan Cease is signing with the Blue Jays, 7 years, $210 million. Jerry, what's your immediate reaction to that deal?
I'm happy for him. Dylan Cease, he's a good guy. I'm happy that he didn't go to Atlanta, which is where I thought he was going to go. I thought he was going to be like the Mario brothers with Strider and those mustaches. But I also love it for Toronto, who was on the doorstep of winning a championship, knocking on the door, and they aren't taking their foot off the gas. They are putting it all in. I love this move for them. He makes a solid addition to their rotation.
I think Jerry nailed the narrative from a Toronto standpoint. They were 2 outs away from going and winning a world championship, and they are going to be pedal to the metal in trying to improve their baseball team. I think they are very much in play for a guy like Kyle Tucker. I know a lot of people looking at Kyle Tucker saying, hey, the Los Angeles
I've heard them,
Dodgers, Steve Cohen, New York Mets. I think the Blue Jays are going to be big-time players, and there's normally been this sort of stigma for free agents when it comes to going to Canada, where it's like, not going to Canada, not paying the taxes, not dealing with the idea of playing in a different country. You make it to Game 7 of the World Series, you have this fun, free-willing baseball team. You're clearly seeing a different narrative. The other takeaway here, Sal, Dylan Cease to me is a good pitcher. He's not a great pitcher.
Yep.
He is way too volatile. He walks way too many guys. He got $30 million a year, and he got 7 years. So if I am any of these free agent pitchers, Michael King Rangers Suarez, your boy Skubal in a year and a half from now, you're salivating over the prospects of what you're going to add to your bankroll.
Yeah, Skubal might be the first $500 million pitcher at this rate, but the Blue Jays, more so than anything, even if it's a bit of an overpay, they're puffing their chests out like, hey, we were about to win a World Series. Now you got Scherzer, Bassett, Bieber, all off the books. Let's go and get one of the best on the market in Dylan Cease. I think they will make a play for Kyle Tucker, and I think they'll play for both Edwin Diaz and Robert Suarez. One of those two will be closing games for the Toronto Blue Jays next year.
Can't be Hoffman. That's for sure.
Can't be Hoffman after Miguel Rojas took him deep. That's for sure. So the Blue Jays will be in play for every big position.
Jerry, if you're Valdez or Skubal, obviously he's not a free agent now, but you see this contract, does that mean you're not signing for a penny less? What does that do for the other free agents these guys just referenced there?
Yeah, they're excited. They're going to put lasagna and turkey on that Thanksgiving table. They're not afraid to open up that pocketbook for sure. It's definitely a good thing because he's on that market. This is what the Blue Jays are willing to do, to overpay to get their guy and make their team better. I think a team on the verge should be doing just that.
You know what I think needs to happen here, though? This is, okay, maybe bad for the Mets because they're going to need to sign a free agent pitcher, and it's going to cost a lot, whether it's Skubal next year, whatever it may be, or this year, Valdez or Suarez. But really, this needs to light a fire under the Yankees here.
No question.
But you can't sit back on your hands and watch the Blue Jays, who beat you last year head-to-head. They own you. They get to the World Series. They're already out of the gate spending $200 million.
Well, we get the gist of it there, Dan. I mean, I think they hit the nail on the head. Maybe they did have to overpay a little. Maybe they said, you know what? We don't want to do this back and forth. We're going to overpay right up front. I'm interested to see if there's going to be a signing bonus associated with this contract, maybe to help lower it at the end, kind of what the Mets did with the 150 with Juan Soto. So then he's not making $60-something million a year. It's going to be interesting, but I'm not. Everyone kept telling me, and everyone knows my number one pitcher this offseason. It's been Michael King. The most consistent guy out of the bunch, in my opinion, the guy with the best stuff, the most movement, the stuff that I feel like when I'm looking at a pitcher like a Dylan Cease, a Max Fried, and I'm paying these guys well into their 30s, and that's what I think they're all going to get. I want a guy with movement because movement plays down the road. When Dylan Cease is no longer throwing 100 miles an hour in a few years, because he's not the biggest of stature of guys, he goes down to 95. Is he going to turn into Zach Wheeler, or is he going to turn into Noah Syndergaard? I mean, right now, we've all seen Cease for the last 3 years. He can throw strikes. And I don't know at age 30, all of a sudden, he's going to learn how to throw strikes. And when he stops throwing that hard, will it hurt him? That's why I like the Michael King, the two-seamer, the sinker, the splitter, the cutter, the curve, the slurve. He's got pitches going in every which direction, and I do still think the Mets are going to try to do somewhat of a six-man rotation, at least out of the gate. And you know what this deal does? And I've yet to see anybody talk about it. You know who just got much more valuable? Kodai Senga. Because a team, and I think that's why the Mets are going to hold on to trade him, if they're going to trade him, which obviously they're trying to. But a team that misses out on Valdez, on King, on Suarez, there's going to be teams that miss out on them. And Kodai Senga got $15 million. Are you telling me Dylan Cease is double the pitcher Kodai Senga is? Kodai Senga with a 1.5 ERA at the midway point last year. Yeah, he can't stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he's pretty damn dominant. It's just going to be really interesting to see as this progresses. And I'm wondering if this is going to start the monopoly. I predict right now, and look, what did I say? I said it 3 days ago. There's going to be a big trade or signing before Thanksgiving. Here it is. I think this is going to get the ball rolling. I think you may see panic moves shortly, Dan, because look, like they just said, the Yankees can't be sitting there saying, oh, crap. The Mets can't be, if the Mets are planning on adding a pitcher through free agency, which is a possibility, you got to be thinking, all right, well, we all know Stearns liked him. I mean, if this was the Mets right now, I'd be like, okay, we got Cease, but I wouldn't be happy with the contract. So I'm kind of glad. Maybe you guys feel different. Let me know in the comments, but I'm kind of glad he went to Toronto, go bug the Yankees, go bug the Red Sox. But I'm not sold that Cease all of a sudden is going to turn into a $30 million a year pitcher with a 3 ERA.
No, that's not going to happen. The market's very inflated right now. Pitching is the best it's ever been in the game of baseball, which is great to see. Brandon Nimmo, actually, who we'll talk about at the end of this whole thing, he did mention that as well. That was his appeal about going to Texas. But listen, the Blue Jays are a real player. They're a team that maybe goes back to the World Series. They're that good. And dare I say they do win the World Series. I think they are that good. And that rotation is legit. Really happy for what Toronto, again, they throw their money at everybody. They threw their money at Ohtani. They threw their money at Pete. They threw their money at Yamamoto. They threw their money at Soto. And they ended up getting some good pieces in the long run, right? Like they ended up retaining Vlad. He's there for the long haul. 1 year ago today, we were always talking about Vlad. It was like, oh, it was him instead of Pete. They locked him up. We'll see what happens with Bichette. I know they want to bring him back. Kyle Tucker, obviously, as they mentioned on the show, could be very big for them. But even getting a guy like Santander, who last year was a big signing for them, he didn't end up really playing and being a factor, I think, past the ALDS. But again, like just other pieces to that puzzle that I like what Toronto's doing, and the Yankees do have their work cut out for them. The Mets do as well, and I don't think they really add in any free agents. I would love Michael King. Thinking about it, 3 for 75, but then when you really think about the bigger conversation,
I think he's looking at like 4 for 110.
4 110, 4 for 120, 3 120, depending on AAV. Like you could figure out ways. I just think again, it's really expensive, and I would just rather trade. I'd feel much more comfortable right now if I'm David Stearns just trading for an arm, because there's better arms in the trade market. You have to give up prospects, sure, but it's not as many as you think, and you have a lot of prospects if you're the Mets. So that's all working for them, but the free agent market's working against the Mets right now. So they're going to really seriously have to look at some trades, whether it be Freddie Peralta, as we've talked about, Joe Ryan, as we've talked about, trade for one of those guys. If you want to go and spend, you spend on Tatsuya Imai from Japan. That's who you spend the 7 years on. Don't do it for a Dylan.
What do you think he's going to end up getting? 25 over 7?
I think even lower. I mean, we'll see. Yeah, that's fair. We'll do 25 for 7. What's that? 225. So I can't do math. That might be 175. That's not bad. So I'd be all over that. You have to bring in a pitcher one way or the other. If you're going to go down the free agency path, don't do what the Blue Jays just did. We want to make that very clear. We would not give Dylan Cease 7 years for 210. I don't think anybody listening to this live right now, hopefully you would not give Dylan Cease 7 years for 210. Atkins and the Blue Jays, yeah, they have enough money to kind of throw at the wall. So with the Rogers brothers and everything. So again, just let them do their thing. They're loading up in the American League. They're the team that the Yankees are scared of right now. But this is crazy, Ray. It inflates the whole market, and I'm probably staying away from any free agent at this point.
Yeah, you know what's
maybe on a low deal for Michael King, right? That's about it. Zach Gallen, maybe.
I want to pivot the conversation really quick because I wanted to bring something else up. And we call a spade here, people. When you look like a fool, I will call you out, especially when you make things up. And I'm going to bring you to something, a reporter that everybody loves to talk to. Bob Nightingale in the last 4 hours on the market.
Some notable trades over the past week. Is the trade market going to continue to stay hotter than the free agent market for now?
This was 4 hours ago.
I think it will. I think it's going to stay like this until the end of December, maybe 1st of January.
Listen to those. I expect it to stay like this to the end of December. He was saying no big free agents were going to sign until January. That's his big reporting. And this happens 4 hours later, Dan. And that's why I caution you guys. Now, I'm not the end-all be-all. We know people in the Mets organization and some people throughout MLB. You see who we have on this show. I'm not gloating about it, but I will never put anything out there that is unsubstantiated. And now Bob earlier today as well, and people took it as gospel, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. He said that the Kyle Tucker market is not as robust as expected. And I saw everybody reporting it left to right to anybody who will listen throughout MLB, be very careful who you listen to, because 4 hours ago, he said, no, I expect the trade market to be robust well before the free agent market, and the free agent market to start picking up at the end of December into early January, 4 hours later. So just be very careful. And that's another name we could talk about. That's something that we should probably address. And, maybe Bob's right about the Kyle Tucker stuff. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not. But let's talk about Kyle Tucker, Dan, because you and I see two different perspectives on this. And I'm sure there's some people with me and there's some people with you. This is how, and you know what's interesting? I've been changing my tune to him a little bit over the last couple of days because I consider myself an open-minded person. I've been listening to what Dan says. He's 28 years old. That's the positive. The career 865 OPS, the positive. But one thing I didn't really realize about Kyle Tucker, the last 2 years, this year, 136 games, 2024, 78. And the more research I do on him, and I'm not saying I don't want him, I'll take him, but I think he's going to get some crazy, crazy contract because of, let's be honest, he's not Juan Soto, but it's him and Bellinger. That's it. And you're going to have the Dodgers involved, the Blue Jays involved, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox potentially. Other teams may stick their nose in. I could see maybe San Francisco. You heard the Pirates want to spend. I saw an article yesterday saying Colorado's expected to spend, maybe not crazy, but more than in the past because they're trying to at least be somewhat competitive and not a minor league ballpark. I think his contract can get a little out of control. But when I hear about Kyle Tucker, I start to look at his injuries. He comes back slow, man. He's the guy that pulls a hamstring, Dan, and he's like Senga. It is a set, he's out 7 to 10 days, and 2 months later, he's just hitting AAA, getting back. And that scares the hell out of me. And then I went into the advanced stats. And that's, hold on. Let me pull it up. That's something that we've spoken about on a space last night. Kyle Tucker's advanced stats. When I look at his sprint speed, he's in the 26th percentile. Okay, not supposed to be a sprinter, but you better hit 30 home runs, which he doesn't. Range. This is what kills me. His range is in the 26th percentile in the outfield. Right when I see that, he ain't becoming a New York Met. When you hear run prevention, and you could bring up, do you have the quote on you from Nimmo, or I'll bring it up. I have no problem. I'll probably have it up.
Yep.
But I don't know, Dan. I feel like the more I think about it, the more I think Cody Bellinger might be the pivot. And if he's not, it's got to be the trade market. I'm so, my biggest fear. I saw Dan Wexler talking about it earlier today, a potential platoon in the outfield between Tyrone Taylor and Luis Robert. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of that situation.
I have it if you need it. The Nimmo stuff, we could throw it up and.
Sure. You have it on the jumbo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good.
You see it? Cool. Here's Nimmo's comments talking. Tell me if this is a shot at David Stearns. It does feel like he's the only other human who's
1,000% at the shot. Let's keep it a buck.
The pitching is really the first thing that you need to have. And some guys like to call it run prevention. And when you combine the pitching with the defense, and what I saw was that is already there, and you're not losing a lot of pieces of that. And I think that that's something that
some people call it run prevention. Oh, why you gotta do that to us, Brandon? Brandon, my guy, I love you, but don't, come on. Look, I know you're hurt, but let's also keep it in perspective. He had to approve the trade.
Right.
Now I understand your girlfriend's coming to you and saying, I really don't want to be with you. What do you want to do? What are you going to do? You get the hell out of Dodge. But, I don't know. Well, how do you take that? How do you guys in the comments take that? Was that a shot?
That was definitely a shot at Mr. Stearns. It definitely was. But speaking to the whole conversation, right, about Tucker, and he's very interesting. The Mets, again, like we've gotten past the Nimmo stuff. I want to focus on Simeon in a second as well. But it's a tough time, right? He was a fan favorite. But once you look at the bigger picture and we see that next move by David Stearns, that's the disconnect between some fans right now that are flipping out that we traded Brandon Nimmo. Yes, it hurts. It
Not
hurts.
me.
Like, I get it. And Ray sees the bigger picture. I see the bigger picture. I think a lot of you guys who follow this team closely, like us, like you see it too. You had to do it. And you had to clear up that spot in the outfield so you can address a Kyle Tucker. Going back to the point before about how I'm not spending on free agent pitching, I'm giving that money to a potential free agent outfielder, whether it be Cody Bellinger or whether it be Kyle Tucker. Those are the two guys that I would really consider. Trade for starting pitching, save that money. If you don't bring back Edwin Diaz, guess what? You're saving $25 million a year. If you don't bring back Pete, guess what? You're saving a good amount of money every year. So just think about the bigger picture. That's my point there. Think about the free agent market with the outfielders. Think about Bellinger because he's another interesting name with Tucker that I would really want on this team. I like
Do you
Tucker.
think that contract affects him?
Yeah, I think somewhat. Across the board, everybody's affected. Whenever there's a contract, even people can look at Soto's contract and still comp to that and say, look what he got. Look at me as a player. Look at the things I do better than Soto, whether it be defensively, you can make up some money. So from a negotiating side, there's always comps to look at. But yeah, Tucker's very interesting. Bellinger again, or you could trade for a center fielder or a left fielder. You could trade for a Steven Kwan, trade for a Jaron Duran. They were talking about it on the radio today. It feels like a Stearns move to go and trade for Luis Robert. I don't like that move, as do you not like that move, Ray? But that's
it'd be terrible. It would be terrible. It would be catastrophic. I don't care if they're giving us him for free, because you know what that tells me? If they give us him for free, he's making $20 million. So between him and Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea, you are talking nearly $70 million on the cap for three ineffective players. And that's another thing I want to address. I keep hearing about Kwan. So here we have it. Steven Kwan's numbers last year, that OPS of plus 96, 705. Dan, he's not good. I don't understand what the infatuation is with Steven Kwan.
It's cheap. It'd be a
625 at-bats, 11 homers, and 56 RBIs is not impressive. A 330 on base for someone who's supposed to be that highly regarded is not impressive.
Look at his 24 season. I think it was a little bit better. Even his rookie year.
793. The guy's never had an 800 OPS.
I hear you.
I don't know. It's just, for me, and I see what people are talking about, what it's going to cost, Dan, to get a guy like him. You're talking, the Jet Williams, the higher end prospects. He'd be the guy we get, and he is Brandon Nimmo light.
I hear you. And we kind of want to get away from the left-handed hitters. That's why they brought in Simeon to be that right-handed bat. That's why Tatis makes a lot of sense too. You hear his name floated out there. I'm more a Jaron Duran guy. If I had to be, you're trading for a left fielder who's also a left-handed stick or a left-handed glove, it would probably be Duran over Kwan. But I'm thinking bigger picture because I could always put Benj in left field, make it easier on him to kind of develop as a player. So there is those kind of conversations being had. Does Soto move to left field, taking the place of Brandon Nimmo? Because I think we all can understand that Soto's not the best defensive outfielder. Like he can definitely improve there. So put him in left field and see how that goes. And then maybe trade for a Tatis or put Buxton in center, and you could work some things around. But
Buxton becomes much more valuable too when you see a contract like that. And Duran is too. I'm not a big Duran guy. I understand the defense, the run prevention aspect. You want to talk about that. But even him, 774 OPS. You got rid of Brandon Nimmo. You're going to be replacing him with a guy just like him, and it wasn't enough last year. It's just the holes in this organization are just crazy to me, man. It's absolutely crazy.
If I told you we got Bellinger and Duran, would you be upset?
I would take that.
Okay.
And you're saying no Alonso returning?
Yeah. That would happen in that scenario. If I told you Alonso and...
You still need a left fielder. Who's your left fielder then?
Well, Benj.
I don't think. I don't know if
You
you
know what
could
I mean?
sell the fan base on that. We're gonna have
No. I don't know.
you
And
got
that's why,
Tyron Taylor playing every day in center and moving
listen, if
Duran, or vice versa.
I know
Starling
David.
Marte making a return.
Well, and also everyone's going to hate when I say this, but don't shoot the messenger. This is just David Stearns saying it. And I'll preface by also saying that you can't believe anything he says this time of year. He has to talk up everybody in the system for his own benefit.
Yeah.
Right. So again, Jeff McNeil would be a piece to this puzzle. He could play left field opening day. He could be that guy with Tyrone Taylor that goes out there in platoons, and you could be that. I hate it just as much as you, but I don't know what the Mets are thinking. I think, again, once you got Simeon in here, all bets were off. McNeil was good as gone. But he does have that position versatility, and the fact that they floated him even as a first baseman, Ray, blows my mind. So I don't know. It's tricky. It really is. And people trying to make this about, there was a big heated debate on the Fan the other day between Evan and Tommy saying, like, what is this trade? Is it a Nimmo for Simeon, or is it really a Simeon for McNeil? Simeon is McNeil's still the better player than Simeon. Like, as is Nimmo is still technically a better offensive hitter than Marcus Simeon, but you're getting a premium at defense, and that's very, very important. So, and then quickly on Simeon too, Ray, just while we're at it, like this guy, he talks yesterday, you hear he wants to get back to that MVP caliber player. You look at some of his numbers from 2019, 2021, and then 2023. I'll pull it up, actually. You know what? Because this makes it easier for everybody. When you look at these numbers with Marcus Simeon, this is a legit player. This is a player that you look at and say, all right, if I can get some semblance of this dude again, these numbers speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. I don't know why it's not
You're
working.
pulling mine up. I got to take it off. There you go.
There we go. So look at these numbers, right? 8.4 WAR. That is just insane.
That's a lot of defense, probably, right?
A lot of it is defense.
Look at the OPS.
OPS is, I know you like these numbers, right? 892, 873, 826. If you follow the trend, same with the WRC plus, it's going down, right? 138, 131, 128. Look at the home runs. I mean, uptick 33 to 45. That's great. Uptick in RBIs 92 to 102, but then a downtick again, 29 to 100. So look at these numbers. Look at the trends over 3 years. 2-year differences between the two. What do you think he can do in a 2026? Now, 3 years removed. I think if you can get Ray a 5 WAR from Marcus Simeon, that is the ultimate ceiling. That would be amazing. If I can get 20 home runs from Marcus Simeon at age 35, I'm happy.
I think that's plausible, as long as it's at the bottom of the lineup.
Well, and I think he starts at the top. There's a really good chance if they like what they see in spring training, he still has some juice at 35. He just turned 35 November 17th. So he's really still 34 technically. Like, I think there's still something in there. If I can get 90 RBIs, if I can get an 800 OPS, if I can get a 115 WRC plus, similar to what Nimmo was, I'm okay and I'm good. And he might be the 2-hole hitter. You might have Lindor. I'm going to get out of this. Lindor, Simeon, Soto, Pete, Tatis. You could have that. But I don't know. I think Tatis would be more of a 2-hole hitter. Simeon, if he sucks, he could be an 8-hole hitter in a perfect world too. So a lot of good things.
I said a perfect 9-hole hitter if you have the right lineup coming back around the top.
Yep.
But with that said, guys, make sure you like, subscribe right now. We're getting some of your comments before we dip on out of here tonight. Appreciate you guys. If you're enjoying the content, consider becoming a member, because we always read our members' comments and questions. And with that said, we'll start off with Jem. Ray, the Blue Jays just ruined the market with the overpay, something we discussed. Buzz, what's going on, my guy? What's up, fellas? Happy Turkey Day to you guys, to you as well, everybody in the chat. Wow, that's a shocking signing. He didn't even have a good season. I just hope the Mets do whatever deal they make to not trade Jet Williams. Look, if it's for Tatis, even though I love Jet's now, because I consider him a friend, actually, it'd be very tough. Very tough. As Juan says, Tatis 100%. Nurko says the Mets not going to sign any big free agents. That's the big fear. That's the big fear. I mean, what is a big free agent? If they let Pete walk and Diaz walk, they're going to, take $100 million less payroll than last year? You know what I'm talking about? Blaze says the Mets will re-sign Bassett similar to how Stearns operates. I could see something like that, but I also know Bassett, I don't think enjoyed his time here that much. Curve says Stearns will buy more Temu pitchers. I think there's a really good chance of that, unfortunately. Renee, thanks for checking in. I agree with Ray. Glad the Mets did not make the big splash for this pitcher that is not an ace and will have high ERA. He was totally overpaid. Cannot agree more. Klub, another one of our members, checks in. Jeff Passan never gets anything wrong, unlike Bob Nightingale. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. I don't understand that, putting that, you're talking hours, not even days. And the last one says, from Buzz, if Vientos starts at first base come April, we should all boycott. I'll tell you right now, Mets fans will definitely not be happy. Dan, final comments.
Interesting stuff, right? You see a big signing around baseball today. The Dylan Cease, very interesting. 7 years, 210, going back to the Blue Jays, $30 million a year. We'll see how that affects the Mets. We'll see what happens with the Mets. We'll see what happens with Diaz, Pete, Ryan Helsley getting interest from about 15 teams. That was some news today. Maybe he's a starter. I don't think he's a Met. So interesting stuff. But it's a good day for baseball. We'll see what happens around the game. And hopefully the Mets continue to bring some other pieces in. They had 4 minor league signings the other day. We can cover that on the next episode.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, if there's breaking news, we will be bringing it to you with our honest opinions. I'll leave it at that. As always, let's go Mets. God bless everybody.
Let's go Mets, guys.